But once you were, in my case, once the airplane took off, and the pilot came on and says, "This is flight such and such." I can't remember the number now of
Pan Am.
Pan Am Airlines, who was still flying from Cuba, and he says, "You're in a free country. You can say whatever you want to." Everybody started singing.
So he said, "Welcome to Pan Am flight, whatever." And then he said, "You're now free. You can say whatever you like."
Yes, and then everybody started singing the national anthem and crying.
Wow.
Yes.
That still kind of gives me the
Yes.
soul.
Man I know, his name is Mr. Mom. Man from you see scar his face and shirts fix. He works for a last company, I work for it. And from you see his rich girls, you know he's a bandit. That same Mr. Mac, Lord, Lord, Mr. Mac falling. Mr. Mark falling. You, Mr. Mark. Mr. Mark, Mr. Mark. Yeah. You, Mr. Mark. Mr. Mark, Mr. Mark. Aha. You, Mr. Mark. Mr. Mark, Mr. Mark.
Welcome to the next episode of Stay Tranquilo. This is a special edition. Obviously, I'm not Andre. My name is Victoria Verdeja, guest turned host for this very, very special episode. My guest today is Sam Verdeja. We bear the same last name because he is my grandfather. And beyond that, he is a distinguished author, historian, ex-professor. I'll let you, I don't want to give too much away yet, but, welcome to the podcast, Abo.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll start off by understanding a little bit about what it was like for you to leave Cuba, or your experience in what led up to leaving Cuba. And I want to start there because I think that is, or was the driving force that became all of this, right? So why don't you walk us through your experience maybe with university?
Okay. I left Cuba for the U.S. in 1956. Normally we call him BC, before Castro. And I came to school, and I went to Louisiana State, LSU. I got a degree in mechanical engineering. And when I graduated in June 1960, I had a decision to make. Castro had been in power for a year and a half. And my parents were saying, "Why don't you stay in the United States?" But I was thinking, well, the old folks don't understand the revolution. So I decided, being young and liberal, to return to Cuba. So once I arrived there, suddenly I'm in the middle of the government, because I started working for a person that was hired to also be part of a brand new organization, who was a Cuban Central Planning Committee. So,
What was that called? You told me what it was called.
JUSE Plan.
JUSE Plan.
Yes,
That's right.
yeah, Junta Central de Planificación. And so to me, it was good and bad. Was good from the point of view that it let me go into the heart of what the government was saying, or was doing actually, what they were saying. And the other one was professionally. In those 2 years, I learned a lot.
So you were hearing, just so that, I've heard this story so many times that I feel like every time I do, I learn something else. When you were working for what became the regime, right?
Yes.
Wow.
And
Before you knew.
Yes, and it was an interesting thing. one of the first meeting was with Ernesto Che Guevara, who was in charge of who's a plan in charge of everything. So you start learning about those characters pretty good. So I realized that what was saying in the press by Castro and everything, and what was happening inside the government were two different things. So I went back to Cuba to help to go into the democratic government and for the betterment of the people. But I was immediately saw that we were going into communism. So, and that's when.
What were the signs? So when you say that you immediately knew, what were the things that were off to
Yeah,
you?
it was a very quick thing. Once that we got hired, we had a training session, and who came in to train us was first was Guevara, who came in to introduce
Che Guevara.
Che Guevara, and everybody with him were from the Czechoslovakia. Today it's broken into Czech Republic and Slovakia, but Czechoslovakia. So, and what they brought in, two things for us to learn. One was the book Le Capital, Karl Marx, and the second one was how Czechoslovakia went into communism. So pretty soon it was very
Pretty
clear,
Yeah.
very telling. So and then
And was that what they were selling when Fidel was running? Was that not something that he was selling essentially as part of?
Well, he wasn't running because they have been in power since January of 1959, a year and a half. When I went back to Cuba, they have been in power. But he didn't win like an election or anything. Batista left and he took over the government.
Okay.
So there was no elections or nothing like that. It hasn't been an election, real true.
I know.
Free election for 64 years. But yeah, but
So was Batista the last?
the last elected president was Carlos Prijo Socarrás in 1948, or 48 to 52, yes. And then
Okay.
Batista came in
As a dictator?
as a result of the coup d'etat.
Okay. So going back to where you left off, it became very obvious with the characters and with the literature
Yeah.
that they were having you read that
Yeah.
this was headed
Yeah.
towards
And then a
communism.
few things happened very quickly. One, my dad's business was confiscated. He had a small tile, floor tiles factory. And then I got married to my sweetheart from high school, who had waited for me for 4 years while I was going to school. Her name was Delia. She passed away about a year and a half ago. And so we got married on March 4th, 1961. A month later came the Bay of Pigs invasion that failed. During the invasion, my dad, who lived in Cuba, his business had been confiscated. It was looked as probably an enemy of the government, so he was put in jail for 2 weeks in a concentration camp. Then they let him go. Then my brother, who was an engineer for the Shell Oil Company, he was picked up and put in jail. And
he was held in against a firing squad, right?
well, what happened is, he was at La Cabaña fortress. That's where they had the firing squads. So he saw a lot of people.
So he was in the prison, or
the
political prison basically.
And a lot of people from that prison were executed. So
what did that? I've heard. Didn't Che Guevara bring the concept of of those types of executions?
Well, he didn't bring the concept, but I don't know who brought the concept. But the truth is, he did a pretty good job at it.
Yeah, I mean.
But
so how many people would you say were murdered by the government? In that, let's say 5-10 year span.
Oh, hundreds.
Hundreds?
Oh yeah. And then what happened is we decided that hey, we need to leave the country. It's because either you were in favor of the government or you were against the government. You couldn't be neutral.
Right.
So we decided to leave.
Who's we? The family?
The family. My wife was the first one to leave with my niece. My brother's 18 months old baby. And but after that, I had a very rough time in getting permission to leave.
Right, because you knew too much.
I was an engineer. I was in the middle of the Cuban Central Planning Committee, the housing plan, and but finally they let me go, and so I arrived in the States.
I want to just take a minute to hear, because when we were working on your book, I don't know, however many, 9th book at this point probably, there's a part of it that really struck me, and I don't know if you remember, but when we were working on it together and I was editing it, I started crying. I don't know if you even realized it, but it was the point at which you were on the plane. Yes. And the pilot's voice came over the loud. So walk us through that.
Okay, what happened is the guy who was in charge of the immigration said that I would not leave. So finally he was not in Cuba. When I went last time to see if they let me go, I had the permission from everybody except that guy who kept saying I won't go. So I arrived at the airport. My dad and a friend of mine took me to the airport. They couldn't stay there. So I finally took the plane. So nobody looked at one another. It was very tense. So as soon as it closed.
Because everybody was scared, right?
Well, it was scary because they used to, once you are inside the plane, normally two policemen came into Secret Service and they say such and such and such and such, and they took you down.
And was there any rhyme or reason, or it was just mental warfare?
It was part of just keep. I don't know, mental warfare.
Basically telling people they had no control to the very end.
So, but once you were, in my case, once the airplane took off, and the pilot came on and says, "This is flight such and such." I can't remember the number now of Pan Am Airlines, who was still flying from Cuba, and he says, "You're in a free country. You can say whatever you want to." Everybody started singing.
So he said, "Welcome to Pan Am flight, whatever." And then he said, "You're now free. You can say whatever you'd like."
Yes, and then everybody started singing the national anthem and crying.
Wow.
Yes.
That still kind of gives me the chills. So did you even look to your left and right? Like
at that time, I realized who I got next to me, and we embraced, and it was a very motivated to say. Cubans from my time, from my group, from that era, I remember two things, two dates. One, the date that you were born, and the other one, the day you left Cuba.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So, okay. So I know you get to Miami, you move around, you were doing engineering for a little bit, but I want to get to the point where you find yourself with an opportunity at the Miami Herald, because that was pivotal.
Yeah. What happened is I got a job in Atlanta, Georgia with Western Electric, part of the Bell system, the phone company of those days. And so I spent there 4 years. But we realized in the 60s, 66, 67, that in 66, that a Kennedy-Khrushchev pact that they written between the United States and the Soviet Union, that the U.S. will not invade Cuba or will not allow the exiles to invade Cuba, and the Russians or Soviets will remove from Cuba some missiles they have installed with atomic bombs in it. Mm-hmm. So that was part of what is called the missile crisis of 1963. So, but nobody knew that had been a pact or an accord or whatever between the two countries, but it leaked out. So we realized that now we are here to stay, because all of us came with the idea to return to Cuba. We didn't come to stay here as an immigrant. As a matter of fact, I graduated here and went back.
Right.
So, and we called that period until we were ready to return to Cuba, la maleta, the suitcase, because everybody got the suitcase ready to go back to Cuba.
That's interesting. So.
Oh, wait.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. To answer your question, so we say, I want to move closer to Miami. Let me see. Why? Because my family was here. I mean, Delia's, my wife's family was here, my friends, everything. And so I started buying the Miami Herald Sunday in Atlanta. And I saw an ad, and I sent my resume. And it was a blind ad. So I got a resume.
Do you know what the job was
Yes,
for?
they say, no. I didn't know the company, or it says in Miami, but it didn't say what it was.
Okay.
And what he had is that they were looking for an engineer with all this type of thing. And it really matched me.
Okay.
And so they called me, offered the job. I came for an interview, and I started 2 weeks later. I started in January in 1967 in the Miami Herald as an engineer.
What does an engineer do at a newspaper?
Well, in our case, it was a combination with industrial engineering on how to improve the systems, how to get new equipment that makes everything more productive, more smooth.
So is that
better.
when you wrote that the printing distribution system?
Yes. That was part of my. I spent 4 years as an engineer. Part of that, as the chief of the engineering department, I ended up as the head, and then I was sent to Philadelphia with a team of 4 people from the Miami Herald to take over a newspaper they have purchased, who was the Philadelphia Inquirer, one of the largest papers in the country.
This is all still McClatchy, right? Like now they're all owned by- or this is
That was
different?
night newspapers, and then they became
Okay.
Night Reader.
Does that have to do with Knight Foundation?
Yes, that's the Knight Foundation. The money from the 2 brothers, Knight and Jim Knight, John and Jim Knight, is the money, millions of dollars they put to create this foundation, and that's the Knight Foundation.
Very cool. Okay, and they're doing a lot of good stuff here.
Yes, they are.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So you went to Philadelphia. The Philadelphia, what was it called?
When did I go?
The paper. What was it called?
Philadelphia Inquirer.
Inquirer. And you took a team there from the Herald to
4
do.
people. Yeah.
And you did what there?
Like installing the systems used at the Miami Herald.
That's why you have so many copies of that process?
Well, that was part of it. I mean, those processes.
If anybody wants a printing process, we've got about 1,000 copies in the garage.
No, it's but yeah, we install the systems, management and production and all that that the Miami Herald used in Philadelphia.
Okay. So then, at what point do you shift? Because it's kind of an odd shift from engineering to
Yes.
marketing.
Yeah, because I wanted to go to management and the business side, not just the plain engineering. So, and I was going at night to work on a master's degree at the Florida Atlantic University, Boca Raton.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was sent to Philadelphia, that stopped me almost at the end of that, and I ended up not graduating or finishing. But then I was moved because I had requested, and they did it. They moved me to the business side, to the distribution of the papers and all that. So that's when, and I started then really getting involved in community things a lot, very heavy. As a matter of fact, my first community job was in Atlanta with junior achievement. I was at Western Electric, but where you taught young people in high school how to run a business, how capitalism would work.
So how much later did you get that community proclamation?
Oh no, years later.
Years? Why don't we show? It's it's under.
No, the other one.
I think it's this one. It's one of many. This is the proclamation of the day, right?
Oh, the day, yes. All
What
right.
is it? Tell us.
Well, what happened is they gave me a proclamation that this is the Miami-Dade County. Alex Penelas was the mayor, and it says
What are we celebrating on May
on May
24th?
they declared
Sam Verdeja Day.
They declared that day Sam Verdeja Day, and it was a very beautiful thing.
We got to celebrate this year.
Yes.
I don't think we ever have.
Okay.
So, you go from engineering to marketing because you wanted. Well, okay, we haven't even gotten to marketing yet. You go from engineering to wanting a piece of the business side of things. How do you segue to marketing and newspapers? Because now we're getting into the first couple of
Yes.
books that you published.
Well,
you wrote.
Yes. Okay. The thing is, in 1980, in 79, 78, 79, we got invited by the Inter-American Press Association, which is all the newspapers in South America, in the U.S. and Canada. as an association of newspapers. And they had some seminars. And then they decided to invite me to talk about marketing. And to my friend Armando Gonzalez, who was at the Herald too, to talk about.
Isn't that Pitbull's name? Armando Gonzalez?
It's
Armando Formando Escándalo?
no, no.
Wrong one?
Yes. He went to LSU with me, Armando, and he came to the Herald as an engineer. And he was the one talking about the production side, the equipment and all that. So we started being invited by the Inter-American Businessmen Association, and then me by the International Newspaper Marketing Association to talk on their seminars. And I end up talking about over 40 cities from Canada to Argentina to Spain. And so it was a very exciting thing. Part of that is while I'm talking, I received a person from the University of Navarra in Spain in 1980.
You received a what?
A visit
Oh, okay.
at the Miami Herald.
Oh.
And the guy comes in and was looking for me. And well, I received the guy, you know, he's from Spain, he's looking for me. He's from the University of Navarra, which I didn't know at that time. Later on, I find out it's one of the best universities in Europe and in Spain. And so he told me about a program they had in communications and all that. I heard that we talked about, and we said, well, we'll put a plan together and we can go there and do a seminar or something for your students. So we went there in 1980, and we did it for 27 years, consecutive 27 years.
So the Herald sent a team every.
No, not the team. This is now me
Just
as
you.
an individual and
Oh,
Armando
okay.
as an individual.
Oh, okay. So you both went for 27
The Herald knew
years.
about it, and they were happy that we were invited.
Got it.
And we did that for 27 consecutive years. And that's when I wrote the first book, which is called Marketing y Gestión de Periódicos, which is called Marketing and Newspaper Management.
So
And,
this was like the first PR book before PR was called PR,
yes.
right?
Well, it was a very interesting book. And as a matter of fact, anytime I went to a country in South America to speak, normally there were one or two people there who got the book and wanted me to sign it or something because they have learned about the book. And
Abo, so does it make you proud that I do PR?
yes.
You could have just taught me. You would have saved Dad a lot of money on school.
So, and that's how I end up doing. And as a matter of fact, then the Miami Herald, anytime they had somebody from a newspaper in Latin America, especially a newspaper owner, who says, I would like to see if I can send such and such to the paper so you guys can help them training a little bit. They say, no, wait. We have two people here that they can go and do it for you. And you just make an arrangement with them.
Yeah.
So we created a consulting company parallel to the Herald, but the Herald was the one who told us who the people were.
What company was that?
We call that, well, it's a consulting company that I had for years until 2008, 2010. Yeah, I had newspapers, client
How old
newspapers.
was I in 2000? I was old enough to know what that was.
Well, I had clients in Venezuela, El Universal, Notitarde in Valencia, in Venezuela, in Maracaibo.
Mhm.
I had it in Ecuador. I had it in Spain, U.S. In Santo Domingo, in Dominican. But we had newspapers that we did consulting for them for years.
So, okay, but 2008 is well after you left the Herald. So just going back to your experience there, what would you say, and we'll get into face in a minute, but what would you say was your most impactful experience while at the Herald? And I know you had many.
All right. Well, technically some, of course, things you did to make the paper more productive and all that. But the other one was the El Miami Herald that later became El Nuevo Herald. That's in a Spanish paper. And this was in 1975. 1975, now I'm in the distribution side of the paper. I'm in charge of 500,000 subscriptions every day. And we knew that as Cubans were moving into a neighborhood, the number of subscription dropped. And
Because of the language.
the language problem, the Cubans, well, was a combination, particularly of language to start with. So, and then we put together, the Herald put together a task force, and there were two people in charge. One was the director of production, Ray, and me, to come up with ideas and solutions. So we came up with the idea of having a supplement in Spanish to be printed every day and inserted into the newspaper. And I thought it was not going to fly, the idea, because now the newsroom was going to be responsible or in charge of a product that they didn't understand.
Right.
It was coming out every day. And
Would you still say it was very like American?
I'm sorry.
Those who were running the paper at the time?
Oh, yeah, everybody. Probably.
So they didn't understand the Spanish language edition, basically.
No. Probably I was the highest Cuban in the company at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that came out in April of '76, but we thought it was going to be a product for about 25 years, life.
You thought it was going to be what?
It had a life of 25 years, that product, because we thought that Cubans will learn, that the one who stay in the United States will learn English. Castro was long gone from government. Mariel was not going to happen. The Mariel boat lived with 125,000 Cubans. That thousands of Nicaraguans were going to come to Miami. Thousands of Colombians and from all Latin America. Miami to become then the gateway to America, to Latin America. So all those things happened. So in 1987, the company decided to, from an insert, to make a bigger insert, from 20 to 25 news people to go to 100 people. So I produced something really bigger, a full newspaper. And that started, and they brought a very friend of mine, which I really loved, who was Roberto Suarez. He was probably the highest Cuban ranking person in American newspapers. He was the president of the Charlotte Observer in North Carolina. And they brought Roberto to be in charge of the El Nuevo Herald. And I was part of the team. He and Cesar Pizarro and a bunch of other Cubans, we all put together El Nuevo Herald. And still,
25 years? Is that what you gave it? How long has it been now?
Since 87. I haven't 87.
I'm not. We do words. We don't do math.
Yeah, okay. So it's interesting. But one thing that happened in the meantime, since I love to be involved in the community, I joined immediately by some of my friends that came after me and said, you have to join this and that. Teresu Bizarreta, which I loved.
Who founded a very popular agency still to this day, right?
Yes, well.
Zubi Advertising?
Yes, and Tere and Leslie Pantin Sr., they were like my mentors going to the Cuban American organizations, and they put me into the Inter-American Businessmen Association, Asociación Interamericana de Hombres de Empresa. And in 2 years, I became the president, in 2.5 years, 3 years. And after that, the Red Cross asked me to join them, and I was chairman of the Inter-American Businessmen from 80 to 82, parallel president of the American Red Cross. In 82, we created
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, after that, we created a creative facts about Cuban exiles.
And I want to spend some time talking about that one.
But then, organization kept calling me to join and do things, and the Herald was delighted because, we had at the Herald fights with the Cubans who would understand the Herald, and the Herald didn't understand the Cubans, and so in '85. We had a new publisher. His name was Dick Capin, Richard, and he had the opening of vice president of community relations. And so he called me and says, you're doing all this on your own time, on your own thing. Why don't you become the vice president of community relations and you
For the Herald.
For the Herald, and you really have all the time I worked for the Miami Herald, not El Nuevo.
Right.
Yeah, and he says, why don't you do this as your job
Full time, yeah.
full time? Because I was in '85, and I said, yeah. So I did it, and I did it from '85 to '96. But in the meantime, I got what is called the marketing part of the Herald.
Right.
So I became VP of Community Relations and Marketing Services, and until '96, which is when I left the Herald. By then, I have been in I don't know how many organizations and so on.
Chairing and
board,
serving on the board.
I was in the board of trustees of United Way. I was in the
So this is where I get it from.
the Baptist Foundation, in the board of the Zoological Society of Florida. A lot of organizations, beautiful organization, which I'm proud of being able to work and.
That's why you have a whole day.
Yes.
With your name on it.
Yeah.
So, in that period of time, when was the Mariel boat lift? Because I know that's
1980.
Okay, so am I wrong here? Does that not have a lot to do with why you founded FACE?
Yes.
So let's start. It was the reason that
Okay.
you founded FACE. So FACE, Facts About Cuban Exiles, is a nonprofit organization
Yes.
that you founded in what year? You founded along with.
Yes. I'll tell you a story real quickly.
I was trying to give you
okay.
some time to have some.
No, I did. What happened is this. Until 1980, we Cubans, exiles, were in all these magazines throughout the country. We were the best immigration that has happened to the United States. And, I think that was a little bit exaggerated, but we were doing well. There comes Mariel, 125,000 refugees come to Florida, to Miami and the Keys in 6 months. And what Castro did too, among those, he sent in about 3,000 people who were in jail, who were real bad bad people,
Yeah.
or mental people who were
Why did he
mental.
do that?
To tell people who wants to leave Cuba, they are bad people.
Yeah, to make Cuban exiles look bad, basically.
Trying to make the group who wants to leave Cuba look bad, and create chaos.
And you think his goal? Well, so I think the goal then was two-part: to create chaos
Yes.
in the U.S.
Yes.
and then also to discourage Americans
Yes.
from wanting exiles to
Yes.
come.
Yes. For example, they were so crazy there that if you were homosexual, they thought you were a criminal. So they start.
Is that still true in Cuba?
Eh?
Is that still true in Cuba?
I don't know. I haven't
You don't
been
know
in
'cause you
Cuba
haven't been?
lately, but at that time, it was horrendous, and they went out. If they thought you might be, and they put you in a boat and send you over. So I mean, that was real crazy.
Sad.
Okay, but now we are in the news again, but now for the wrong reason.
Right.
There comes Time Magazine or I thought it was Time, with Miami Paradise Lost. That was the
Paradise Lost.
Yes, that was the cover, and we were being clever all over. I mean, so
The Cuban exile
Cuban exiles,
community,
yes.
the successful Cuban exile community was just being
the
run
image
yeah.
has been really. So I called three friends. I called Teresa Bizarreta from Cuban Advertising. I called Luis Botifol, who was the chairman of Republic National Bank. Republic was they helped tremendously in the development of the Cuban businesses here. And Luis was a heck of, he was like the old man of the community, for the Cuban community. I love the guy. And my extremely good friend, Armando Codina. So these three people and I had lunch, and I say, hey, well, we have been killed. And I think we have to learn from our friends, the Jewish people. They have this called the Anti-Defamation League, and they fight for their image. I think we ought to do the same thing. And they say yes. I say I volunteer to go and talk to Art Teitelbaum, which is in charge of the Defamation League, and I'll see how they organize and how they can help us.
So you can learn and basically
Yes.
emulate their.
But not to emulate, but see what they were doing and see what can we do for our own purpose. That
Got it.
help. And Teres, who says, Reta, in that meeting says, hey, I got the name, if we do this. It's FACE, Facts About Cuban Exiles, FACE. And that's the name.
And it gives a face to it,
And
right?
the organization have been going on for 42 years. Oh, I became the first chairman in 82. And I did it for about 3 years. And then Luis Botifo came in and then Terry and so on. And the organization have been going on for 42 years.
Yeah, it's still going on today.
Yes.
So who are some of the most notable past presidents or chairmen?
Oh, a lot of people, Botifo, Terry,
Mike Fernandez,
no.
more recently?
No.
Sorry, Frank Carreras.
Frank Carreras, it have been Tony Arguiz,
Tony.
have been Aida Levitan,
A lot of well-known.
Eddie Garcia.
Oh, that's right.
Eddie Garcia. Is a lot of Muray, Rene Muray, the attorney.
Was Remedios ever
No.
president? But
But-
a lot
but-
of well-established, well-known Cuban exiles that
yes.
have helped to shape
Yes.
Miami as we know it.
Yeah.
Have been members,
Yes.
have been award recipients, and have served on the board for
Yes.
FACE.
In the board was Jorge Mas Canosa, for example. A lot of
Mas, right?
Jorge Mas Canosa.
Yeah. Okay, Mas.
Yes. So it's that's how I end up on doing a lot of community work.
So you helped found that.
Yes. Then in '96, I wanted to do what my dad did all his life. He was an entrepreneur, and I've been wanted to do something on myself. As a matter of fact, we had a lot of parallel businesses, from real estate to being a consultant to my wife Delia used to run an equipment used equipment. They bought used equipment in the United States and shipped it to Latin America and all that.
I had no idea.
All kind of business. And but I always wanted to do something on my own. And Teres Zubi and another good friend of mine, Ana Maria Fernandez Hart, who also had another company, a public relations and a marketing company, they were after me. Hey, you have to go on your own. You have to do this and all that. So one day I decided I'm going to do it. So, and we brought in the
watches?
Festina watches. We got all kind of.
I'm not wearing mine today.
We had
That was
all
yesterday.
kind of deals going on, and so we decided to go on our own. I talked to your dad, to Neil, my son, and I say, hey, I would like to go on my own and have a create Verdeja marketing group. And he says, I'm on. So he started the company before a few months. I talked to David Lawrence, who was at the time the publisher of the Miami Herald, and I say, I'm going to retire. And he says, oh, give me a year. And I say, okay, I'll give you a year. At the end of the year, I'll let you know. So at the end of the year, I came, and they give you a package and all that, And I say, I'm leaving, And he said, okay, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to have a party for you in my home for 200 people. And I'm going to bring to that party the top people of this community so they might be your clients. And I'm going to give you, although you got a package, I'm going to give you a 2-year contract with the Miami Herald. We're going to be your first client.
I need a friend like David Lawrence.
Yes, honestly, he was really, really nice. Not only that, when you retire for a large company, you go to a conference room and they give you a cake. So he gave me a big party. And on top of that, I was in the front page of the business side. San Verdeja is creating a new company. And in El Nuevo Herald, San Verdeja is creating a new company, Verdeja Marketing. I was all over the newspaper and then in the unbelievable.
What?
Huh?
Can I have a piece of that?
So, and then
He laughs. He doesn't say yes. I got to earn it.
Then I ran the company for Verdeja Marketing with Neil and my son Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And
The Godfather.
yes, and then what happened is Neil went to work for a friend and in another company. They got a good job, and Eddie wanted to run the real estate company, the family real estate company, and he took over. So in the meantime, I met this guy. Well, I met him in Cuba, but I saw him here in Miami. We're talking. His name was Fred Estrada, was, and Fred had some magazines, or a magazine called Hispanic Magazine, the largest Hispanic magazine for. It was in English.
In the world, right?
Well, in the United States.
In the US.
In English. Okay.
I'm getting a lot of these things wrong.
Yes. No, in the States. But maybe it was in the world, I don't know. But in the States. And so his son was running the business, but his son wanted to do something else. And we talking about, he says, why don't you run the magazines? The magazine. And he got another magazine, Vista, but he was doing something somebody else was doing. And I say, okay, that's interesting. As long as I can keep my consulting company, keep my trips to Spain, and talk when I get invited in all these
Qué buena
countries.
vida.
Yes, and I say if I can keep that, and I'll be happy to do it. And we agreed. And then he said, well, but I would like to sell the company. And I said, okay, I'll put a group together. And I talked to my friend Armando Godina, and I got Armando Godina, Jorge Perez of the Perez Museum, and I got really interesting Lombardo Perez from Metro Ford, and I got Roberto Suarez, and a heck of a group, Ricardo Mayo. Then I got the publisher of the newspaper in Madrid, and the guy, another Spaniard from the Tenerife.
Casual.
I mean, people really put a heck of a board. Bought the magazines. There comes a group of Mexican companies, a large company called Televisa, and they say, we love that magazine. In the meantime, I had started another magazine called Hispanic Trends, business in English too, and Hispanic Online. And then they come and says, we'd love to buy your company. We say, well, let's make a deal. In 5, we sell you half. In 5 years, we buy the rest. In about 2 years, we say, would you buy the rest for this? And they say, yeah. And we sold it. And we were very lucky because we sold it in 2006. And after that, you know what has happened to the print medium, unfortunately,
Right.
for newspapers and magazines.
So, speaking of print, I want to talk a little bit about what's in front of us here. Because there's some giant books that I spent a lot of time typing in high school. Not as much as the other guy, but tell us a little bit about, I guess, so we talked about his marketing and gestión en periódicos, but I want to get into the books that benefit face.
Okay.
So we've got, I'm going to hand these to you if you don't mind. I want to start with what, the first edition? This is the first edition. Cubans: An Epic Journey.
Okay.
And who are your friends that designed this beautiful cover?
Okay. This was from the company, which today is República
República Havas.
Havas,
Mhm.
a group of young people, as you know, and they designed this beautiful cover, really, which is very emblematic. It has the Statue of Liberty on top, and in the bottom the Freedom Tower in Miami. And the beauty about this book is that we put together a team, and Sam, me, and Guillermo Martinez, my friend, we put together a team, and of total 31 people we were. 29 Cuban Americans and 2 American Americans,
Anglos.
And,
Is the way that you would call them?
Anglos, if you want to. Okay, and it was a labor of love because we would really work hard. People with a lot of talent, but they were not writers, some of them, but they knew this stuff.
Right.
And
So it's if you go through the book and you look at who wrote the chapters, you see people that you
Yes.
recognize.
Yes.
I mean, I know, but people's dads and
Yeah.
and-
Yeah, okay. What we did is the first part of the book is why we're here, why the Cubans came,
right.
what caused it. And so the first chapter, as a matter of fact,
It's like a history book.
it is a history book. It's the first part is, the first chapter is Cuba in the 50s before Castro.
Mhm.
And the second chapter is Miami in the 50s before the Cubans.
Okay.
So I
And that's
put-
where the Americans came in that were helping you write it.
I
Right?
brought in, well.
They helped to
yeah,
write that piece.
Howard Kleinberg wrote that one
Got it.
from the Miami News. He was the editor of the Miami News.
Of the Miami News.
The Miami News, who was part of, got a joint
Different
agreement
paper.
with the Miami Herald, yes.
Got
And we were friends, very close friends. We worked together for a while. Then after that, Howard Kleinberg asked us, can I write some more chapters? And we gave him the Bay of Pigs, Invasion to Cuba. So he ended up writing 3 articles. We put them together with a lot of people who have been on the invasion and all that, and he did a heck of a job. So we ended up with the team of 31 people, beautiful people. Then the second part of the book is once the Cubans left Cuba, and primarily in the United States, although we talk about a little bit about, it could be Venezuela, Spain, or whatever, what they have done. And then those chapters are grouped on specialties like bankers,
Like industries.
business, doctors, engineer, science people,
Media.
the media.
They wrote about you in that chapter.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful thing. And then the third part of the book got pictures too, but the third part of the book had to do with information on numbers. Where the Cubans are, what it is, what they have done, and so on. It's
And this book for me,
800 pages.
800. That's it.
Yes.
So I read this book for me is special, and this is what I was telling you guys when you were in New York, because I remembered very clearly. It was before I had a car, and you guys would pick me up from high school, or Abby would pick me up, and you'd sit with me, and the portions of the book that you wrote on a legal pad by hand in English, well written. And I remember you would sit and dictate it to me because you had to give me the backstory for everything. And I remember I would type it because you don't type super well. So I would type it. And I remember every single day, Abby would, when we were done, Abby would say, hoy tú ganaste una puerta. Hoy tú ganaste una ventana. And I remember being like, what the heck is she talking about? And that's after that summer, I got back from Warrior Week after, I think it was my junior year at Westminster or in the beginning. And I remember my parents opened the garage door and you guys had bought me my first car as a thank you. So this is very special to us, I think. And I think that beyond why it's special to me, it's even more special because you haven't earned a penny from this. All the proceeds from the sales of this book have gone to Face, right?
That's correct. None of the people who have worked here have made a penny. They all go to the
It
organization.
really was a labor of love.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact,
Yeah.
we got a lot of help. Like we got grants from the Knight Foundation that you asked before, and the money used to print the book and send it to schools, send it to libraries, send it to people that we wanted to have a copy, especially Americans, so they learn. And so this took us, the team, close to 5 years of a lot of work.
Sorry, go ahead.
And it came out in 2011.
Right.
Then 2015 came the book translated. Then we went for a long time to translate the whole thing to Spanish, which is
You guys were a little backwards there, huh?
eh?
You did English first, then went back translated
Well,
to
because
Spanish.
we didn't know if we were going to do it in Spanish. to tell you the
But
truth.
you wanted to reach people that didn't necessarily know the story, and
Yeah,
you knew that a lot of the people that knew the story spoke Spanish. So,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Well, that and Howard Kleinberg's role in it, obviously, he didn't speak
No,
Spanish.
no,
did he?
but everybody here, they could write in English. I mean, they were,
Right.
yeah. But then we came with the book, which is this one here, which is in Spanish,
Here, I'll hold it up.
and then we came out with the second edition of this in 2022, with the second edition of this in 2022, and then
The second edition is 2011 until 21, correct?
yes,
So that's
And-
here's the second edition.
yeah,
Looks the same.
and then
Then the last baby.
But about 2017, like that, more or less. Leonardo Rodriguez and I. Rodriguez was in Florida International University a vice president and also a Dr. Rodriguez. He was assistant dean of a school of business, and Leonardo and I spent 5 years working in that book, which is called Cuba, a Cuba chronological history, and we went back to 1454, when the father of Isabella
We have
of
a like
Spain,
history for this.
the old man died, and her brother took power in Spain, and then he died, and Isabella became the queen. She married Fernando of Aragon. The two, they were called the Catholic kings. They got a guy by the name of Christopher Columbus,
I don't know how you remember all
and
this.
then it's the history. And this book, the beauty about this book and the difference between, which is through December 31st, 1922. The beauty is that as you look at the cover here, it has
Got it?
the Spanish crown. Then they have the eagle from the United States in the bottom and Cuba in the middle, because it's the story of Spain, the things that happened there, how impacted Cuba, or the things that happened in Cuba that impacted
The US.
Spain, and then it came the United States, and then you have the three countries parallel in the book and things that were related.
So you and I had a lot of fun designing this cover
Yes.
about 2 years ago.
Yes. Yes.
That was pretty cool.
So that's the history of the book, and as you say, all the proceeds goes to facts about Cuban exiles.
So we're kind of getting to the end here, and I really would like to hear from you. You know, given everything we've said about FACE, the fact that it's still, I mean, you just received a grant from the Knight Foundation, right? Recently?
We got a big one to create a new project, which is called the oral history. They selected 20 some people to interview for about an hour and a half, more or less like we're doing right here, and tell your story. So it's not lost when the people pass away.
Right.
And I was happy that they selected me, one of the 20 some, and I just did it, and it will be available soon.
So, given that and all this, what's your dream for young people, for the descendants like me, of Cuban exiles? Because the culture, it's sad, but it's almost like a dying culture, because the culture in Cuba now is not the same as the Cuba that you experienced. And so if you could, in a perfect world, what would you see happen? How could my generation and those after help to carry forward the culture?
Okay. The thing is that you have to dream, and part of your dreams should be to be proud of your roots, to have values on hard work, dedication, give back to the community, be thankful to God and to whatever you believe in it, to your family. I'm so proud I was very lucky with the women I married for 62 years. Women.
You married one woman.
No, okay. Women that I married. We were married for 62 years until she passed away, and we were lucky to have three great children. Your dad, Neil, Eddie, and Maritere, Marie, and you live in Tampa, and then seven grandchildren. You're the oldest. I shouldn't say that, but you are.
I know.
Followed by Megan and Amanda, and then the four from Eddie.
No, three from Eddie. You forgot my brother.
I mean, your brother Daniel. Yeah, that's right. No more.
No more one.
And then the three from Eddie, Thomas, Andrew, and Alexandra Isabel. But the family, I mean, and I have been extremely lucky because they have asked me, what is the American dream? And to me, the American dream is when they give you the opportunity to dream, as I say, to have goals, to have the freedom to work on those things. Some work, some don't. Life is not a straight line. It's a line like the stock market, almost up and downs, up and downs. When you're down, you're grab and go up, and you just keep going and keep dreaming. I was asked, do you think you have achieved the American dream? And I say, well, I know what I achieve, I think, is a Cuban dream in America. Because I stay as a Cuban. I'm very proud to be of my roots. I'm very proud to be an American, and to for this country to do anything because they give us all the opportunities. But the opportunity is there. But it's not for sure. You have to go after it, and you have to work for it, and you have to achieve it by hard work, perseverance, do well, do good to other people. So that's to me the most important thing. If you ask me of my life, what is the most important thing? Is the relationships that I have developed, first with my family, and then with my friends. And third, because many are the same, with the communities.
So, did you achieve the Cuban dream in America?
To an extent, yes. Although I don't think it's as finished. That's why I keep writing, because
and drinking good wine.
Yeah, because that's what I'm doing now is what I fortunately at the end of my life, after I retired, I start doing things that I enjoy.
You've always done things you enjoy.
Yes. No, one thing is I have enjoyed every work in my life and everything I have done in my life. And I'm the eternal optimist. And,
yes.
I
know is true.
And I have had rough times, like everybody. But again, I know that there got to be something else after this, and I keep going at it.
Just the chance to have it is what matters.
Yes, the opportunity to have it, a chance, and so on.
So I want to wrap up by asking you, Andre likes to do this thing where he asks you 3 rapid fire questions. Yes. The first is, you have a gallery in the other room over.
I call him the ego room.
The ego room?
Yes.
Yes, your ego room is right there. It screams at us from here. And in that room, there's a wall full of photos of you with celebrities. I want to know which is your favorite photo, and I know the answer, but I want them to know. Which is your favorite celebrity photo with you? Come on.
Well, she's still on television.
And her name is?
I forgot.
Cindy Crawford.
Yes.
He's so proud of that. I'll show you after. He's so proud of him and Cindy Crawford. Yeah. So is that did I get it right? Is that the one? Okay.
No, but there are a lot of interesting people there. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, there really are. they're setting up for my birthday.
Okay,
I'm
go
not
ahead.
mad about it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Decide.
second photo. What's your favorite bottle of wine?
The one that I haven't drank yet. But I love silver oak. We have the silver oak here, and you have the bottle of silver oak in the back. So I love
This
silver
is
oak.
not a paid promotion. He really
Yes,
does like it.
No, that's not a paid promotion. And third question.
And the third question. So this was my birthday present from my friends. They allowed me to interview you on their platform.
Yes.
So I'm gonna ask, what advice do you have for me and for others turning 30?
Feel young. Learn from me. I still feel young. And dream, as I said before. Have goals. Don't believe that every goal is going to be achieved real quick. Some are longer. But you can ask your dad and everybody every year, through the years. In December, I sit down and say, what are the things I want to accomplish next year? And 3 or 4 areas. And then I keep looking at them, and if not, I forgot. And everybody forgets that these are the things that you want to do, because there are other things that take away your time. But do that and dream and work hard at it.
Sounds like a plan.
Bye.